Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a 130-year-old document that proves our modern frustrations with workplace communication. Yeah, they are absolutely nothing new. We tend to think of corporate bureaucracy as this purely modern invention, born from endless email chains and instant messaging. But as we're going to see, the struggle to get people to actually read their memos is practically an ancient tradition. Let's get right into it.
Be honest for a second. Have you ever skipped reading a massive company memo or a super dense annual report at work? The ones I'm talking about. They land in your inbox with a thud, absolutely packed with corporate jargon, and you just kind of mark them as read and move on with your day. Well, we've all been there. And it turns out human nature really hasn't changed much at all.
So don't feel too bad about your inbox habits, because 19th century executives were dealing with the exact same headache. Seriously, long before the internet, before the dreaded reply all email, managers were literally tearing their hair out, wondering why their carefully crafted, painstakingly printed reports were just gathering dust on a desk somewhere.
This circular memo, number 5 of 1895, brilliantly illustrates the point. It comes straight from the desk of the Inspector General of Prisons for the Northwestern Provinces and out. And the primary purpose of this highly formal, officially stamped piece of paper: the boss is complaining that absolutely nobody is reading his lengthy reports. No joke.
What's really fascinating here is the sheer directness of the Inspector General's frustration. He writes, quote, "The annual administration reports are, in many instances, not read." It's just a beautifully timeless administrative pain point. You can almost hear the sigh of defeat echoing through the decades, right? He went through all the trouble of compiling an annual report, distributing it across the provinces, only to realize it was being completely ignored by his staff. The text specifically notes he made this shocking discovery during the course of his winter tour. If we translate that into modern corporate speak, the winter tour is basically an 1895 version of an executive site visit. The big boss leaves headquarters, goes out into the field to visit the local jails, starts asking questions about the annual report, and slowly realizes there's a massive disconnect. The folks on the ground had absolutely no idea what he was talking about. So, what does an executive do upon returning to headquarters in Lucknow on the 30th of April, 1895? He's just finished his tour, realized his grand annual reports are basically serving as expensive paperweights across the provinces, and knows he needs to take immediate action to correct this. In a move of classic bureaucratic irony, he writes another memo. Yes, his solution to the problem of people not reading his reports is to issue a brand new memo mandating the reading of the previous unread reports. It's the ultimate administrative paradox. The thinking seems to be, well, if they didn't read the first one, surely a second one telling them to read the first one will do the trick, right? The document explicitly lays out how this mandate is supposed to flow downhill through the workplace hierarchy. You start at the very top with Inspector General Tyler. He sends the memo to the superintendents of jails. They are then supposed to lean on the English clerks, who ultimately need to get this information into the heads of the general subordinates. It is a very rigid, top-down chain of command. Tyler actually bypasses the subordinates entirely in his communication, ordering his superintendents to forcefully manage their teams. The exact wording is that the superintendents must, quote, "instruct their subordinates to peruse them in future with great care." Basically, he's putting the onus entirely on middle management. In his mind, it's not that the reports are too long or boring, it's that the middle managers just aren't forcing their teams to peruse them with enough care. But why does he want them read so badly in the first place? He isn't just seeking an audience for his writing. He breaks down his reasoning into two distinct organizational goals. Goal 1, so that any defects noticed may be remedied. Basically, fix your mistakes based on the report's findings. And Goal 2, any measure which has been commended may be imitated. In other words, he wants them to share best practices across the branches. He explicitly argues that if the staff simply reads the reports to fix these defects and imitate the commended measures, the entire system is going to be better off. The memo plainly states, if this is done, he considers that an improvement in the general administration will be effected. It's a very logical A to B way of thinking. Read the report, follow the instructions, and boom, perfection is achieved across all the local jails. But as you might have guessed, there is a major logistical flaw in his grand plan for corporate alignment. It's a massive, glaring oversight that honestly makes you wonder how the system functioned at all. And it's one that he casually addresses as almost an afterthought in the very last paragraph of the memo. The problem? A vast majority of the subordinates couldn't read the reports because they were written entirely in English, and the subordinates didn't read English. So what's the Inspector General's brilliant workaround? He simply delegates the monumental task of translating everything to the English clerks. He orders that translations should be made by them for the subordinates' information and guidance, just casually dropping a massive workload on the clerks. So, to recap Tyler's approach to administrative problem solving, it goes a little something like this. Step 1, discover the annual reports are unread. Step 2, issue a new memo complaining about it. Step 3, mandate even more reading. And step 4, rather than actually adapting the communication to the audience, just assign heavy new translation duties to the local clerks. He attempts to solve an administrative failure by creating literal mountains of new paperwork and bottlenecks for his own staff. J.W. Tyler signed off on this memo with all of his formal titles: Knight, Companion of the Order of the Indian Empire, Inspector General of Prisons. And in doing so, he effectively immortalized his very relatable frustration with his 19th century workforce for the rest of history. He literally stamped his name on the ultimate proof that bosses have been thoroughly annoyed about unread memos for well over a century. Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway from this brilliant piece of history. As we look at our own overflowing digital inboxes today, staring down unread newsletters, policy updates, and endless slide decks, it leaves us to wonder, have we actually fixed workplace communication in the last 130 years? Or do we just send our ignored memos a whole lot faster now? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and hey, next time you ignore a massive company update, just remember, you're participating in a very long, very storied workplace tradition.